Hey everyone, it's Dawn Woods. I am here to complete one more video, my 5th session in my 7th session mini video parenting series for parents of teenagers. So if you are a parent of teenager, you might need a little encouragement, a little wisdom right now. I'm glad you're watching this. Also, if you have friends who you're on the phone with and everybody's kind of wanting to pull their hair out, send it on to them. I would love to share a little bit of what I've been naming probably as the key points, almost like a framework of the key points that I think are essential for good communication, working through conflict, overall perspective with our kids, which we all can admit gets lost pretty easily when times are hard. Kids we ride these waves with our kids, right? I mean, it can be tumultuous, and then one minute it can be so great, and the next minute you can feel like you're going crazy, and oftentimes it's easy to feel alone in that, but it's just not true. So many parents are going through the same thing. I think if we all sat down and were able to talk, we would see that there are just so many themes going on that are the same, and it's because of this strange period of time where they're inching towards independence and scared to death of it at the same time. So I wanted to share another key point with you today, which is about, I think, a really significant common thread that I have seen with parents. As often as I have spoken to them, I would say almost 100% it comes up, which is fear. Fear is big today, and we live in a culture of fear. I think the media tries to make us afraid. Commercials try to make us afraid. I was watching a commercial the other day about this little mini, maybe you've seen this, a little mini camera you can set up in your, like I could set it up on this bookshelf, and when my nanny or my maid is here, or a friend is here, they show these little scenarios where the person's taking and stealing things, but you got it on video, you got it on tape, so you can nail them. Like, everybody is out to steal from us, everybody is out to get. We live in a fearful society, so that part is hard. And some of these fears are very real, and they come because of legit reasons, but I do think we are overwhelmed with it at points. And think about it this way: if we're blind to it, if we don't name it, if we're not aware that it's going on, we will parent out of fear. We will make our decisions based on these kinds of fears that are so powerful. So just a few fears that come up that I've noticed: fear of kids not getting into college, fear of kids not being wanted by their friends, being slighted in some way, rejected, fear of rebellion in our kids, just kind of going wild and in dangerous decision making, fear of leaving a faith that has mattered to you, that you've wanted your kids to be raised to hold on to, and probably the biggest one, fear of pain or suffering, which I'm going to mention at the end why I think that one we have to pay a special attention to. But I would say, number one, start with naming your fears. If you can't name them, why don't you look for where your control is most powerful in your life and work backwards? In other words, where do you grip tightly? Where do you control? Where do you find yourself controlling your kids the most? And then that is usually tied to a fear. So here's an example. If I am afraid my kids won't get into college, I will likely check their grades on and on. It will be just a daily thing for me to pop onto their grade book and check it. It will be common for me to be having conversations with them all the time about grades. If it's a fear that my kids will be rejected, any hard story with a friend, any normal little conflict that a child may face, or the feeling that they're being rejected, which may not even be true, we blow it up into this big thing. We call the parents of that child, or we somehow get a little too into the story, and our own emotions kind of kick up during that. So pay attention to where you control, and then go backwards, and that will be often where your fear is. Number two, look at your own childhood. What little, maybe it was a silent vow you made, which we often do, where my children will never experience this, or I never want my children to go through this. And oftentimes that comes out of a fear place. The problem with that is, if I grew up maybe poor or without a lot, I will swing in the other direction and become an indulgent parent, and that's where the problem lies. So often when we will swing, and swinging brings us onto the other extreme, which creates a whole other set of problems. So that's my second thing. Pay attention to what you swore you didn't want your kids to go through, and try to work into a place of balance. It's hard to do. It requires other voices oftentimes to help you balance that. And then the third thing, which is what I was talking about with pain and suffering. Let me say this. It is the hardest thing to watch your kids go through any kind of suffering or hardship. It is almost as traumatic for you as it is for them. But as a warning, when we interrupt that process, just like if you were to interrupt a butterfly coming out of the cocoon, its wing, because I did this one time, true. Its wings will not be developed well, and it will not be able to fly well. So in the same way, the struggle your kids go through brings up compassion and empathy. It strengthens them with problem-solving skills. It gives them the tools they need to navigate life. And all of the experiences we've had as adults, we have needed those tools in order to get through it. So that's where, if we take those experiences away from them, it doesn't mean you're not present in them. It doesn't mean you're not heavy with them about them. Your presence is the most important thing. Listen, comfort them, but don't take the situation away from them, except for extreme situations, which is not what I'm talking about. But those examples that just kind of strengthen their internal resources, their agency, that's what we want for them. So those are kind of the three main things I would say you want to pay attention to. Fear is a powerful thing, and it will rob us of our joy. And so that's why I wanted to discuss it. I've seen it. I've seen where when parents have a lot of fear, subsequently kids then have a lot of fear, and the anxiety is very high in our kids today. We don't want that. We don't want that for ourselves, and we don't want it for them. But don't trust your anxiety. Oftentimes, when you look through that lens, you're looking through fear to see and figure things out. And that's why we need other voices. Call a parent who you trust, who maybe doesn't struggle with the same fears you do. But that anxiety, that fear is not trustworthy. It is not. We cannot count on it to be telling us the truth. And I think that's kind of where we start to disarm it a little bit. So that's my word to you today. I'll look forward to next week with another little snippet of knowledge I would love to give you. Pass this on to whoever you think it would be helpful to hear. And my website is dawnpoulterer-woods.com. If you want to communicate with me in any way, you can reach out there. I will certainly be able to get in touch with you that way, and would love to. I talk with moms often about these things, and it's part of what my job is. So if you need someone objective to process with, which helps a lot, that is part of my ministry and what I do. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.